All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Monday Motivation. It is, wow, we're getting close to the holidays, aren't we? So, next we're going to have to be talking about getting through the holidays. All right, well, that's coming. But before we talk about that, today I want to talk about the different stages of transformation. Because you see, I love to talk about transformation because that's really why you're here. That is really what you're after. When you start, I find new clients, they come in and yes, you're after weight loss. And after I've had a chance to have some conversations with you over, a couple of months, I see the shift in those in your mindset. Always invariably, almost every single one of my clients, if they hang around long enough, will have a shift in their mindset. And when I talk to clients who have reached their goals, they will always say, yes, not only have I reached my physical goals, but I have changed my mindset about quite a few things. Those were the exact words of one of my clients a couple of weeks ago. So believe me, you will change your mindset about quite a few things, because that's important for your long-term success, right? You will never be able to maintain the results you get long-term unless you become a different person. You must become the person who can maintain big results. If your goal is big, 30, 50, 100 pounds, guess what? You must become a different person. Right? Because the person who can sustain that kind of result, well, they have a very different lifestyle. They have a very different mindset. They have very different behaviors. They have very different habits. And those are the habits, mindset, and behaviors that you are working to adopt. So let's talk about the different stages of transformation. Right? In stage one, that's where everyone begins. You begin thinking about having the right strategy. That's what most people think about when they first begin, right? Am I doing the right things? What are the habits I need to practice? What is my nutrition strategy? What's my meal plan? What's my exercise? Right? These are the things. How's my sleep? These are the physical things, the habits that you need to practice, right? And this is important. You need the right strategy. The right strategy will get you there. And having a powerful why, I call it a big why. What helps you move forward when you don't feel like it, when you feel like quitting, when you're being pulled in all different directions? What helps you move forward? And that's your why, right? We always talk about your why on our onboarding calls. And as you're going along, I will introduce that to you again to get you to go deeper from I want to lose weight so I can fit in my clothes or play with the kids to something much deeper. I'm not ready for them to throw dirt in my face. I want to live. I want to experience life fully, right? Those are deep emotional, existential reasons, and that's where you must get to for your why to be able to be your biggest motivation factor. That's what your why is. It's your biggest motivation factor. It's what's going to get you to move forward when you start getting into, fear, doubt, and all of the other negative emotions that show up. And they will. Life will throw some obstacles in your path. But this is where we start. We start with strategy. And this is important. You got to master the basics. And the basics, I always tell you that you need to master, right? Two of the most important basics, fundamentals. Right? If your goal is weight loss, balance, creating healthy blood sugar, fundamentals. You must eat balanced meals. One of the fundamentals. Second fundamental, you've got to have consistency of meals throughout the day. That's going to balance your blood sugar. That's going to optimize your metabolism. That is going to balance your hormones. And remember, your hormones really control everything. Right? So this is strategy and having the right strategy. And And last time we talked about, aligning your meal timing with your circadian rhythm. And when you put all these pieces together, these are all just little pieces, right? Still strategy. When you put all these little pieces together so that your hormones and your metabolism and your meals and everything, your blood sugar, everything start working together. When they're working together, that's where you start seeing good results. And when you maintain that over time, well, you're able to maintain your results. So this is where we begin. This is strategy. And you've got to master all of these elements before you can go forward, right? This is just the basic foundation. You got to create that basic foundation. And that's stage one. And for most people, if you're here for 3 months, it'll take you a good 3 months to, just get to the point where you're mastering this basic foundational plan. But you got to go beyond that. If your goal is long term, which is my hope for you, is that this is a long-term process. This is about transformation. This is about creating a process that there's no going back. It's like the caterpillar transforming to the butterfly, right? There's no going back. The butterfly can't go back to being a caterpillar. Once you leave that cocoon, boom, that's it. You have transformed. And you have transformed all your habits. You have transformed your life. So there's no going back. A mind expanded cannot be retracted, right? Once your mind expands and you are open to the vastness of what's out there, well, there's no going back. So stage two really is about adopting the mindset, habits, and behaviors of your future self. You see, I talk about this all the time. Where do you begin? You begin at the end. You begin by adopting the mindset, habits, and behaviors of your future self so that day by day you're practicing the mindset, habits, and behaviors of your future self. Right? You learn to embody your future self alter ego. Who's that alter ego? Well, I told you this before. I've had clients whose alter ego is Six-Pack Sally because Sally wanted to have a six-pack, and in order to do that, she needed to lose 30 pounds, and her alter ego is Six-Pack Sally, was Six-Pack Sally, and she became Six-Pack Sally. And why is that alter ego important? Alter ego is important because then you start to make decisions from the point of view of your alter ego. I talked about this in one of the past Monday motivations, so go back and listen to that and watch that. Right? When you start to make decisions from the point of view of your alter ego, well, guess what? You start to become more like your alter ego, your future self. So you are in the process of becoming. When you start to make decisions from the point of view of your alter ego, you start to live from the point of view of your alter ego. You start to adopt more of the mindset, the way your future self thinks. You start to behave more like that person you're becoming. Right? You start to think more like that person you're becoming. Remember, from day one, I always say, you don't get what you want, you get who you become. So your job is to become the person who can sustain the lifestyle necessary to maintain the results you get. The person who can sustain the lifestyle of losing 100 pounds is very different from the person who's 100 pounds heavier, right? So if your goal is to lose 100 pounds, guess what? You have to become that person who can sustain the habits of being 100 pounds lighter. Because that person has very different habits. That person think very differently, very different mindset, very different outlook on life. So you see, you have to change many things. That's kind of like contradictory, right? A few, many. You have to change quite a few things to become that person. So this is what we're working on. This is stage two, is adopting the mindset, habits, and behaviors of your future self. And here you're in the process of becoming more like your future self as you start to adopt the mindset, habits, and behaviors of your future self. And we talked about this quite a bit. So go back and listen to some of those, watch some of those earlier Monday motivations, right? Because this is all, I'm kind of like trying to tie it in together here for you. You see, there's a process. You start with the right strategy and putting that strategy into action, creating a basic foundation for your future self. You start to become more like your future self by adopting the mindset, habits, and behaviors of your future self. Remember, the mindset is the most important thing. Your mindset is your weight loss. To the degree that you shift your mindset about things, that is the degree of your success, because you're going to be plagued with a lot of obstacles, and you have to get to the point where, hey, obstacles become opportunities for learning and growth. Hey, that app that you hate, guess what? That's a part of the learning. Hey, the obstacles that you're having with your meals, planning your meals, hey, that's part of the learning and the growth necessary. Right? Being pulled in all different directions and learning to deal with that, that's part of the growth necessary. Learning to deal with difficult emotions, that's part of the growth necessary. Learning to prioritize the needs of your future self over the needs of your current self, that's part of the growth necessary. These are all Monday motivations we've talked about before. But this is all part of the growth necessary in order to be able to sustain results over the long term, and that's why I talk about them. So what's stage 3? Stage 3 is now you are embodying your future self. You're no longer becoming. You're living your habits. You're no longer thinking about how to put your habits into practice. You're doing it. You're living it. Right? You've made rituals out of your important keystone habits. The keystone habits are the ones that shape your life, right? The keystone habits are those brush your teeth habits, right? That is where you've gotten to. Your keystone habits have become brush your teeth habits, which means you don't think about them. They're just natural. See, it takes time for your habits to become natural. It takes time for you not having to think about them, right? So here's the thing. When you get to this level, which takes a lot of practice, guys, when you get to this level, it doesn't really matter where you are, what's going on around you. It doesn't matter. You do you. You do what you do no matter what. This is the important thing to understand. And this is where all of my clients who have maintained great results over the long term, this is the place they get to. It doesn't matter where you go, whether you're on vacation, you're in a cruise, it doesn't matter where you go. It has nothing to do with it. You will do you. You will find what you need, or you will create it. Do you understand that? You will find what you need, or you will create it. This is where you are embodying your habits, because it's what you do. Your habits are your life. This is how you live. This is your lifestyle. You don't think about exercise. Exercise is a part of your life. You don't think about being active. Being active is a part of your life. You don't think about eating healthy. Eating healthy is a part of your life. It is just natural. The opposite is true. You think about when you deviate from your eating plan. You think about those deviations, because that is now what is not the norm. Eating healthy has become the norm. You don't think about it. When your shoe fits comfortably, you don't think about your feet, do you? So now you don't think about your feet. Your life has become a comfortable pair of shoes. Your habits have become a comfortable pair of shoes. You no longer have to think about them. You no longer have to think about your feet, right? Because you're living them. Now, when you deviate, that's when you think about, having that ice cream. Okay, well, I'm going to think about that. Is that worth it? Is that, how am I going to feel when I'm done? Well, is it worth the price I have to pay? You see, now you're thinking about that because you have a very different lifestyle. That is the process, my friend. So when you get there, when you get to this point where you're embodying the mindset, habits, and behaviors of your future, so you're embodying your future self, your habits become rituals, daily rituals, weekly rituals, and you guard them. You guard them. My clients who get to this stage, they guard their habits. They know what they do. Their self-care is a part of their week, and they guard that with their life because they're not going to miss it. They have other things revolve around their self-care, right? They don't try to fit it in. No, they fit other things in around it. That is where you get to. And that is the only way that you can maintain big results over the long term. It's learning to embody your future self. So now you're not becoming your future self. You have embodied all these habits you've been working so hard to develop. Does that make sense? You start by putting the right strategy into action, having a powerful why. That is your motivating factor. You get to the place where you start to adopt the mindset, habits, and behaviors of your future self. So you're in process of becoming your future self. It is like you've entered the chrysalis and you are now that caterpillar becoming the butterfly. You're in the process of metamorphosis. Sometimes metamorphosis goes all the way, sometimes it doesn't. All right? So you're in process. Right now, you're in process. Once you get out of that cocoon, you are now a full-fledged butterfly. Your life is completely different. The life of a butterfly is completely different from the life of a caterpillar. So your job is to get to be the butterfly, to get out of the cocoon, and to live the life of the butterfly. You see what I mean? Two completely different lives. Two completely different outlook on life. When you're sitting there on the tree, barely moving, well, your outlook on life is very different from when you're soaring among the clouds and your vantage point is very different. You see what I mean? That is where you're getting to. That is where you want to get to. So I hope this has been helpful to give you some perspective on where you're going. Right? So when you start, well, this is just the beginning. To get there takes practice, it takes time. And that's why I always recommend think about being around, sticking around, not for your 3 months or 4 months or 6 months, but think around sticking around so that the habits that you are working so hard to practice, you can solidify them and embody them. It's going to take you at least a year to do that. So I always tell my clients right up front, I'm going to try and keep you around for at least a year. Remember, everything is figure outable. So we're going to try and figure out how do we keep you around for at least a year so that you can get to that stage where you are embodying your future self, not working on changing up habits and adopting habits. But you got to go way beyond that. You got to get to the point of mindset and beyond mindset to embodying the mindset, habits, and behaviors of your future self. That is how we create transformation, folks. Hope this has been helpful.